Shabbat Shalom. In this parasha, the Parasha of Bo, we're continuing to read about the last three plagues that God gave to the Egyptian. We're starting with the plague of the small bugs or insects that eating all the rest of the plants that the Egyptian had, and the plague of darkness, and the last plague of Bechorot, of the first born. After that, we're reading very interesting and important. The first law that the Jewish people got, the first mitzvah, the mitzvah of the new month, actually the mitzvah that on this mitzvah built all the Jewish year, and all the Jewish year is built. It means that all the holidays are standing on this mitzvah, the mitzvah of the month, the new months, how the Jewish court need to renew the months and calculate the circle of the moon. And it's very interesting mitzvah. And this is the first mitzvah that the Jewish people got. It's a very interesting topic for itself. The Jewish calendar is a topic, and why this is the first mitzvah is a topic. One of the commentaries, the commentary of Ibn Ezra, mentioning that this mitzvah is the first mitzvah because this is the biggest proof of the oral Torah. Why? Because according to the calendar, all the holidays are based. We cannot have holidays without calendar. So clearly, the Jewish people had calendar. You can see it from the written Torah when we celebrating Rosh Hashanah, when we celebrating Sukkot or Pesach or all the holidays or Yom Kippur. But how is the calendar works? We have only few verses talking about the calendar in our parasha. And this, how God telling the biggest proof that there is more to the Torah. Because God not explaining how the calendar works. He's saying the third month, the seventh month, just number of months, but how we calculating? So it's hinted in few verses in the Torah, and this is the proof that there is more, and this is the oral Torah. But this is not the topic that I would want to talk today. In the second plague, the second punishment that we're learning in this week, that God gave to the Egyptians, the plague of darkness, there is one word that Rashi struggling with to understand. The Torah said, Vayamash choshech. Choshech is darkness. Vayamash means, Rashi don't know what does that mean. There is no such a word in Hebrew. So Rashi is saying, Vayamash is from the word emesh. Aleph mem shin. Aleph mem shin. Emesh is darkness, meaning that it become very dark. Vayamash choshech, the darkness become visible. This is one explanation. But then Rashi asks a question. Emesh is Aleph Mem Shin. It's with Aleph. Vayamash choshech, it's without Aleph. Vayamash. The Aleph is not there. What happened to the Aleph? In Hebrew, we can take the word and use it in different ways. But the letter will not disappear. So how come, if it's the same letter, word from Emesh, Vayamash is from the word Emesh, so how come the Aleph disappeared? Rashi answered. The answer of Rashi is because it's a silent letter. It's not pronounced in this way of saying the word, so this letter is not pronounced. So the Torah don't need to write this letter because it's not pronounced. You don't hear this letter. So we will not talk about this rule in the Hebrew language, as we know that there is a lot of rules, very old rules. But this is the answer of Rashi. So this word is with Aleph, but because you don't hear the Aleph, so the Torah also did not write the Aleph in the word Vayamash choshech. But then Rashi brings another explanation of the Onkelos translation and a commentary on the Torah. and Rashi not accepting his explanation. And then Rashi bringing another explanation that it is more spiritual explanation, or we can call it more like the Midrash, Agada on the Torah, but it fits. So that's why Rashi bringing it and actually continuing with this explanation in other verses as well. What is the third explanation that Rashi bring? It's the explanation that Vayamash is not from the word Emesh. It's similar to the word Mishush in Hebrew. Mishush means that I can touch it, I can feel it. So Rashi explained what is the connection. The darkness becomes so deep, so strong, it doubled itself. The darkness become more and more and more and more until a person can feel the darkness. You can touch the darkness. And that was so strong. And then Rashi, according to that, explained that there were two types of darkness. The first 3 days were regular darkness, and the second 3 days were such a strong darkness that the people couldn't move. This is two explanations in Rashi. And I want to connect between those explanations. The first explanation, it's just from the word Emesh. Emesh is darkness. But the Aleph of Emesh in the word Yamash is not applying. We cannot see it. And the second explanation of Rashi, that the darkness doubling itself more and more until you can touch it. This is the second explanation of Rashi from the word Mishush, Vayemash Milshon, from the word Mishush. So what is the connection between those explanations? There is very interesting explanation of the Rebbe about something very strange. We have the word Gola. The Jewish people now in the Gola, not living in the time of the Mashiach. Galut. So Gola, it's Gimel Vav Lamed Hey. Exile, it's Gola. We're waiting for the redemption. Redemption is Geula. Geula is Gimel Aleph Vav Lamed Hey. It's the same word of Gola. Gola, it's Gimel Vav Lamed Hey. Geula, it's the redemption. It's Gimel Aleph Vav Lamed Hey. So redemption and exile are the same word. The only letter that making the whole difference between exile and redemption is the letter Aleph. The Rebbe explained that this Aleph is one. Geula and Gola, redemption and exile, are the same thing. We are and we will be in the same world. We will not change. We will not go to a different world. But the biggest change that it can be that the Aleph will be visible. God will be visible. It means that the redemption would be in our world. It will not be we will not be different people. The world will not be different. Everything would stay, but it will be very different. Because you can see in every creation that there is in the world, you can see the purpose, the one that there is inside every creation. One is the godliness inside every creation, is the purpose of every creation, is the reason to existence of every creation, is how everything is connected to God and to goodness. This making all the difference. And we will see how everything is connected to one, to the Aleph, to God himself. This is redemption. And this teaching us about the time that we are now, in the exile, that we need, this is our job, to reveal the connection of everything to goodness. So according to this explanation between redemption and exile, we can understand more the difference between the connection between the two explanations in Rashi. About darkness, if we're talking about darkness, so the darkness can be so deep, so strong that you can feel it. In our world, we're feeling the darkness sometimes. The darkness can be something that we can touch and feel. And we don't see light. We don't see goodness. We think that we are living in a world of darkness, that anything that I touch is only darkness. I don't see the goodness. Meaning, again, I don't see the purpose in everything that happened. I don't understand how it's connected to God. I don't understand why God created such a things. I don't understand why I need to go throughout all this strange journey that I'm going through. What is the purpose of everything? This is darkness. And the darkness becoming double and double and double until you can feel it. But Rashi giving the first explanation also that this is the letter Aleph is missing. This is, you should know that there is a Aleph inside, there is one, there is God inside everything. And if you remember it, you can see how all the world is connected also to God. Maybe we cannot see it all the time, but we need to remember that He is inside. And this is the difference between redemption and exile. So Shabbat Shalom, may we all remember that God is inside everything that happened. And we can think on the world as clothes. Clothes are representative of a person. God can choose to represent Himself with many, many kinds of clothing. And He chose, in the time of exile, in our time, to represent Himself, to show Himself in clothing that we not understand them. We don't see God through all these clothings. It means that God is not there? No. God is inside. We just need to remember it. Shabbat Shalom, only goodness.